Hello again, Tim from Nickel and Diamond Travels. So, having cruised NCL to Hawaii very recently, I wanted to share our experience in booking shore excursions directly through the cruise line rather than through an independent provider. This was really a mixed bag for us, having some real highlights as well as a few lowlights. As we look at our experience, I think you'll find some compelling reasons to book both directly through NCL or an independent provider. For our Hawaii cruise, NCL contracted with the tour company Polynesian Adventures for the majority of the shore excursions, so we'll be speaking from our perspective of that company in particular. So let's start with the pros. Probably the biggest reason given for booking through the cruise line is that the ship will wait for you as you return from your excursion. So if your bus is late getting back, you won't have any worries about missing the ship. Now, this could certainly come in handy if you've ever found your tour bus pulling into the port while watching the ship slowly sailing away without you. While I won't discount the value or reassurance that this benefit provides, I don't think it's a reason you should feel obligated to immediately go with the cruise line booking. There are now many independent providers out there that will provide you a similar guarantee. So, as long as you go with a reputable independent provider, you really should be fine here. Next on our list of pros is that NCL will take care of coordinating the excursion details. So if you do book through them, they will handle the details for your tour, including disembarkation, issuing tickets to your stateroom, and handling any customer service inquiries you might have. This is a really convenient option as everything you might need is really just a phone call from your stateroom away. In addition, there are a good variety of tours offered as well as a variety of physical activity levels included in each tour. So, no need to worry if you aren't looking to go on a long hike or other strenuous activity, or if you have a physical disability that limits your mobility in any way. In this case, there will still likely be something available to suit your needs regardless. To go along with the tours themselves, we also had very friendly tour guides. For us, this may well have been the best part of the ship book tours. While this is, of course, highly dependent on the individual providers you're working with, we found the bus drivers of Polynesian Adventures tours to be very knowledgeable, friendly, and entertaining on all of our tours. So, last on our list of pros is that your tour operators have been vetted by the cruise line themselves. You do have the assurance that when you book with the cruise line, that they have been reviewed by them and you aren't going to be scammed or taken advantage of, and it's generally going to be at least a decent quality tour. So, what's a pro versus con list without an equal helping of cons, right? So let's start off with the fact that shipbook tours will likely be more expensive than independent providers. Because of the advantages mentioned previously, you'll often find that prices of the cruise line tours are generally higher than what you'll get from independent providers. I won't say it's necessarily a substantial amount, but it could be significant based on your overall travel budget. That brings us to the tour buses themselves. Now, I have to say, overcrowding on tour buses was probably the biggest reason we found not to book with the cruise line. Many of the popular tours will often fill multiple large coach buses, each with 50 plus people on them. And those tour buses will then converge on the same stops, overrunning them with eager tourists. On more than a few of these stops, we arrived at the destination only to find multiple buses already stopped there. At that moment, I found myself wishing we could just turn around and leave, or even join one of the smaller groups so that we could have avoided the crowds. Next on our list of cons involves a very limited customization options available for the tours. Because of the size of the tours, there were not options available to customize the tour stops like there may have been with small groups or private tours. So what you see is essentially what you get with very limited options to change anything. There was also a limited amount of time available at each stop we made on the tours. Because of the size of the groups you'll likely be with, it means you'll have a set amount of time in each stop. And if you don't get back to the bus in time, you'll likely have a lot of irritated fellow passengers waiting for you. We had this happen to us a number of times on our cruise with other guests, and it was really a frustrating experience to watch someone happily strolling onto the bus a good 15 to 20 minutes after our agreed upon meeting time, with no thought or concern towards wasting the time of others. Lastly, you'll probably have limited interactions with your tour guides. Again, I'll reiterate that we had some really great tour guides on our Hawaii excursions, But let's face it, you're going to have a group of 50 plus people on many popular tours, so they're really not going to have a lot of time for you. Don't expect a lot of one on one opportunities with the guides here. Now, it might sound like we're trying to dissuade you from booking with the cruise lines, but we really aren't. The goal here is just to get you to think about what's being offered and not just blindly pick whatever the cruise line is offering. The reality for us is that we may end up booking a combination of both tour types during our Alaska cruise next year. It will just depend on the individual situation at each port and what the cruise line happens to be offering there. Well, that's all for our comparison of pros versus cons for the Norwegian excursions on our Hawaii cruise. If you liked this video, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more. Thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with a little song from our excursion with Smith's Fern Grotto Wailua River Cruise.
That's when we decided to just hang loose, so just hang loose, just have fun, sipping on a drink or lying in the sun. Don't try to fight it, it ain't no use. When you're in Kauai, you should just hang loose. Now this is what happens when you drink too much of those complimentary Mai Tais. You end up in Hotel Street, and that's our red light district. Down on Hotel Street, by the Glades, I met a pretty girl. I thought I had it made. I was so surprised when she said, "Hi, I'm Bruce." That's when I decided to just hang loose. So just hang loose. Just have fun, sipping on a drink or lying in the sun. Don't try to fight it, it ain't no use. When you're in Kauai, you should just hang loose. Now the last verse goes out to the grandfathers. If you're a grandpa, raise your hands. Grandpa, be proud, we're going to sing to you. Now Grandpa met a naughty hula girl. He slipped away from Grandma for a little whirl. Grandma wasn't worried, she knew it was no use. Grandma knew that Grandpa would just hang loose. So just hang loose, just have fun, sipping on a drink or lying in the sun. Don't try to fight it, it ain't no use. When you're in Kauai, you should just hang loose. When you're in Kauai, you should just